Granny Emma Webster, better known as Granny, is a Warner Brothers cartoons character created by Friz Freleng, best known from Looney Tunes and Merrie Melodies animated shorts of the 1950s and 1960s. She is the owner of Tweety. Her voice was first provided by Bea Benaderet from 1950 through 1955, then by June Foray for almost 60 years. Biography: Granny is a good-natured widow who is extremely protective of her beloved canary, Tweety. Granny's overprotectiveness becomes apparent whenever Tweety is threatened, usually by Sylvester. Although having the appearance of a kindly old woman, Granny has demonstrated her cleverness in many cartoons. At least until the mid-1950s, Granny is depicted as an elderly spinster who wears spectacles, a gray bun and a late 19th century-like schoolmarm dress. Other old-fashioned characteristics include her mode of transportation and her inability to relate to present fads. After 1955 in particular, the years after Foray began voicing the character's wardrobe was updated and her old-fashioned tastes and ways of life were de-emphasized, and she was sometimes given newer careers, such as a nurse or a bus driver. Appearances: the idea of the cartoon Granny began with the Little Red Riding Hood character in spoofs of the story, first appearing as such in the 1937 animated short Little Red Walking Hood, which featured Egghead, directed by Tex Avery. Subsequent appearances of a similar Granny character included The Cagey Canary, directed by Bob Clampett, Hiss and Makeup, directed by Friz Freleng, and Hair Force, featuring Bugs Bunny and Sylvester the dog. Finally, the character was solidified into her current role in Canary Row in 1950, with Bea Benaderet providing her voice. June Foray took over the role in 1955, and would perform the role for most of the rest of the character's theatrical run. Granny would continue to appear in several more animated shorts from the 1950s on, as a foil for Sylvester the cat, who was always attempting to eat her pet bird Tweety. Foray did not voice Granny for her last two theatrical shorts, possibly for budget reasons. J.J. Pearson and Joan Gerber each voiced the character in one short, both of which were released in 1965. Foray would return to the role in later television productions. Solo: although she was almost always shown on-screen with at least one of her two animal companions, Granny could occasionally be seen in an animated short without them. For example, in the 1953 short, Hair Trimmed, she starred as a woman who was being fought over by two suitors, Yosemite Sam and Bugs Bunny. Sam called her Emma, and later, Emmy. Another one was the 1965 short Corn on the Cob, where she appears alongside Daffy Duck and Porky Pig as two Keystone Cops who mistake her for a crook disguised like her. She is in this story addressed as Mrs. Webster by a passing policeman. Later, more recently, she has appeared as a professor at Acme University and the mentor and favorite teacher of Merrie Melody in Tiny Toon Adventures, a regular character in the Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries, and a timekeeper in Bugs Bunny and Taz Time Busters. Granny and Witch Hazel donned cheerleader uniforms for the Toon Squad in the movie Space Jam, and the children's grandmother and new character Floyd's aunt in Baby Looney Tunes. She made two cameo appearances in Looney Tunes, back in action as the main character's next-door neighbor, although in one of those appearances this Granny was actually the Acme chairman in disguise. She also appeared in Bah! Humduck, a Looney Tunes Christmas, and in Tweety's High-Flying Adventure. An episode of Lunatics Unleashed featured characters named Queen Granicus, the Royal Tweetums and Sylvester. However, another episode features a cameo of Granny herself, apparently still alive in the year 2772. Granny was going to have a cameo in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but rights to the character could not be obtained in time. In the Looney Tunes show, Granny is one of Bugs and Daffy's neighbors and is voiced again by Foray, while her younger self is voiced by Stephanie Courtney, and Sylvester and Tweety are her pets. This version of Granny seems to be somewhat hard of hearing and slightly senile. A running gag is that Sylvester is constantly chasing Tweety around her house, to which Granny seems oblivious. In Eligible Bachelors, it is revealed that during World War II, Granny Emma was a member of the WAC and along with Tweety she stopped Nazi Colonel Frankenheimer from stealing the Eiffel Tower and various paintings from the Louvre. During the flashback of her World War II adventure to Daffy, she appears as an attractive red-headed young woman in a WAC uniform. In The Grand Old Duck of York, it is revealed that Granny teaches piano lessons when Daffy wants to learn how to play the piano. Granny made recurring appearances in New Looney Tunes, voiced by Candy Milo.